Hello everyone! In today's video we will go over how to enable HTTPS, so SSL, for our web application. And this application in specific consists of an API, this is an Express NodeJs API, it has a React application for the front end, and it has a WebSocket server to handle real-time communication between the clients. Now, what is important is this will be a production-like setup. So for development, of course, it's a little bit different, especially with React. But the most important part is the Docker Compose. So we are going to be using Docker and Docker Compose to deploy this containerized application to our virtual machine. So in the Docker Compose, what we have is pretty standard configuration for the database. So in this case, it's Postgres. Very standard configuration for the API. We just have our started volumes, port mapping, dependencies, environment files, restartability, and then in which networks, so which containers do see each other. This is configured over networks. Then we have WebSocket server, also very standard configuration, a port mapping, environment variables, volumes, and also restartability and networks, very standard. Now React comes from an image that has been previously created. So now I have pushed it to Docker Hub. If you guys want a video about this, just let me know in the comments, but I have pushed it to Docker Hub. So I have built the image and now I'm using it. Also, like the name, restartability, exposes ports, and then has environment files and the networks. And this is kind of a pretty standard setup, right? So if we were to go have only HTTP enabled and we didn't want HTTPS for some weird reason, we could stick to that, right? So you didn't need anything else. But now, because we want HTTPS, what we need to have is a Certbot image. So this will use Let's Encrypt, which is a company that provides us with these SSL certificates, to authenticate our website, so to enable communication over HTTPS. So Let's Encrypt is like a third party that confirms that we are really the owner of the domain and that then our clients will be connecting to this domain. So for this we need Certbot. Now, what we also do need is an NGINX. We need NGINX, even though there already is an NGINX in the React Docker file. So if we go in here, if I show you the Docker file of the React server, what we can see here is that this is a pretty standard deployment for React, by the way. We are using a build stage and then we have a runner stage, which is also an NGINX, which lives inside the React container. But on top of that, we have another NGINX configured here so that this NGINX can serve as this single entity master for our SSL certificates. So this will be responsible, this NGINX instance will be responsible of forwarding all the traffic that we are getting or we will be getting on 443 port, that is the default SSL port, to all of our containers that we have. So it will be essentially serving as a proxy for us. Standard dependencies, standard networking, restartability. Now, networks definition, this is all very kind of standard thing. Now, important is this NGINX configuration, and this is actually key. So the full configuration, and by the way, please do pay attention to the folder structure, right? So I have like the master folder here, and then I have like NGINX here. I have conf.d where my configuration lives, and then the SSL is only for afterwards. Here on the server, we will be creating some files. So here, first off, this is to handle the headers that we do need for the WebSockets. Same here, WebSocket server definition. Now, to define our servers, first off, we need to listen on port 80. This is for HTTP traffic. And here you have to place your domain names. These are my domain names, of course. Now, this is very important. You need to configure this so that you handle the challenge from Certbot. So what Certbot will do is it will just place a file here and then it will just see if it can retrieve it, so if it can reach this directory. And here you need to put exactly this path. So Certbot will make a call to this path and then we'll check if it can access the domain. So this is one part of the configuration. And then second part, you want to forward all the traffic that you get on port 80, so all the other traffic, to 3. So you want to return a 301 code and you want to redirect it to HTTPS. Now, if you get an HTTPS call which comes on 443, you want to need, here you need a path to your SSL certificates, right? So for me, it's etc NGINX SSL and so on, and then my domain name. Now, important is that this is a path inside the NGINX container. So please do pay attention that here in the Docker Compose file, in the NGINX container, this is a volume that I'm creating here to the NGINX. So here, NGINX SSL, this is where the SSL certificates will be created by the Certbot container. So kind of the directories here are very important, because if you get something wrong here, then you will spend hours debugging it, and that's not fun. I tell you from experience. What you have then is all the parts for the different services that we have. So first off, the React application, if we get a call on just the standard location, you should forward it to HTTP React 80, so essentially to the port 80 of the React app container. And then just all the standard headers. If you get a call on API, you should forward it to our API on port 4000, because our API lives on port 4000 to HTTP. So to our API container on port 4000. Make sure that the names here, names match the names of the services in the Docker Compose file, and the ports match the ports that are exposed there. The same thing for our API. And the same thing for our WebSockets. Please do pay attention that here you do not need a slash afterwards, that the name and server here is correct, and that all the settings here are correct, because this is what is required for the NGINX to work as a proxy for a WebSocket server. So we have went over this. Now I will just briefly show you how you then connect to this WebSocket server on the client side. And how you connect to the WebSocket server on the client side is, if we go to the React application, I believe see your source contacts, WebSocket, we have something like this. So we say new WebSocket, and then we are using this WebSocket.url, and this WebSocket.url is in the following format, but this is for development. If this will be for production, we would have it slightly different. I will show you the exact path, because you will say WSS essentially for production. So the path here will be a little bit different. So now we went over the configuration. Now the problem a little bit is that if you take a look right here, is to start the container with NGINX, we need these certificates to be existing. Now, what I usually do, so you can do it, kind of create dummy certificates and so on. But what I usually do is I just comment out this part. So, because I need it to be working here. So what I will do is also comment this part. Because what I want to do is I want to first enable it, run a special script that I have prepared for the Certbot to create first certificate, and then I will just enable it once again. So I now commented it. I commented this part so that it doesn't redirect anything, but I think this you could even leave here. This will not matter, but important is that you comment out this block. And then I have a script that essentially all it does is you put your information here. Please do change it, your domains, your path, or you can keep it just the same, but then make sure to create the directory as I have it right now, your email address, and then leave it to 0 for production. For testing, change it to 1. It just asks you if you have existing certificates already. Important is I based the script on the one that I found online. It downloads SSL parameters for you, some default recommended ones, and then it starts NGINX, and this is why we need to remove the SSL part from there. We request for every domain, we request certificates using this part right here. So essentially we run the Certbot container, right? Make sure that the path here is correct also. We make sure that we run this Certbot container, and then it will create or request the first certificates for us. So this path that we have right here should be corresponding to the volume that I have on the Certbot right here, right? So once again, this is on the Certbot image, and this is the path that we have there, and this is our in the files path are in our files here. Now, what do we need to do next is we need to put this code on our server. So you can do it however you want. You can copy it, but I have this code in GitHub, so that's important. I will now use just normal source control. I will say that I commented out the SSL, and then I will SSH into my server. As a prerequisite to this setup, what you need to have is you need to have an A record in your hosting provider. So I'm using Linode, so this works like this. If you go to kind of domains and then agilepoker.fun, which is my domain I'm working with, and then I will see my A records. I need to have the agilepoker.fun and record, and with my IP address, and the www record with my IP address. And only then this configuration that we'll now be doing will work for you. Like so. And then I am on my server. I will go in, so you can see here, this is my virtual machine. If you want to know how to configure a Linux virtual machine, check out a video that is linked in the description. It's hosted on Linode, but this doesn't matter. We'll actually go into our folder when I have cloned the GitHub repository, and here I have some changes, so I'll just stash them. And now I can say git pull to download the newest changes. And now here I also should have the commented out SSL certification. So first thing you want to do, you want to say chmod +x init let's encrypt.sh, and you want to run it. What this will do is it will give, or it will make this init let's encrypt an executable file. So essentially, next step is we just executed init let's encrypt.sh, and it will ask you, because I have some existing data, so it asks me if I want to replace it. It will not ask you about this. And now for me, it will renew the certificate because I already have some. I do not have the archive, but that's okay. And this has now created our certificate. So what we can see here is we can go to cd NGINX, and then we can go to SSL, and then we could go to live, but it will say that permission is denied because we will now go to super user. If I get the password right, that is. Okay, now here we can go to live, and what we see here is our domain name. This is what you want, right? So you want to go here, and this is what you want to see, right? The cert chain full chain.pem privkey.pem. This means that your certificates have been created. So I will now exit the super user mode, go back. We'll come to my configuration right here, to my NGINX configuration, and I will uncomment all of this so that here it works. I will save, and I will commit this, push the changes, and here I just have a very useful script that I just call deploy.sh. Essentially it says docker compose down, then it pulls the newest changes, and then it just builds up the image once again. So I will just now run it, deploy.sh to get the newest changes. And our containers now should be running. Let's take a look at the application is running. And my application also seems to be running just fine. So what you can see here, agilepoker.fun. So this was the domain we were configuring. And here you can see that the connection is secure, means the communication is happening over HTTPS. One more thing. The Let's Encrypt certificates expires every 90 days. This is why it's important that you have a renewal mechanism. I already have the renew certificates.sh script. It's very simple. It just brings our containers down. It uses the renew function on the Certbot container and then puts them back up. This is super simple, but you can schedule it using, for example, Cron. To this, we will need a path to our renew certificates.sh. This is the path. I will just now copy it. We will need it later. And what we will need to do is make these renew certificates.sh executable. So once again, chmod +x renew certificates.sh. Run it. It should be kind of green now if you are using the same editor. Now, what to do in order to get access to Cron? So what you need to say is cron tab-e, and you will have Cron. This Cron is basically a scheduler. So here you can make your server run something every now and then. And how this something every now and then works. So first off, this is a little bit cryptic. However, 0 for the minute when it will run, 12 for the hour when this will run, 1 for the day of the month when this will run, and then we will say asterisk. So it will run on the first day of every month, and then an asterisk for every day of the week. So essentially what this will do is it will run something on the first of the month. Now what it will run is what we will paste right here. So I need to actually do paste. This is the path to our renew certificates script, and now we need to pipe the logs somewhere. And where I will pipe the logs is, I will just say /home /TomQ. This is my username, easy estimator, and I will just say renewal logs. And then you can say, for example, renew certificates. Renewal logs should have a slash. Renew certificates.log. And now important, we want to pipe both the errors and the standard output of it. So if it ends with an error, you also want to have it there. Now just save it, yes, and you are good to go. This is it in the video. If you want more videos like this video, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment down below. See you in the next video.